Good morning and welcome back to another video, and today we are going to go over 5 easy ways to make gold right now. Now just stick around and enjoy the video. Okay, so let's go over the 5 easy ways in order to make gold right now. That being the case, let's just jump into number 1, which is the Spirit of Harmony to Materials flip. Now this is by going over towards the auction house and buying up Spirits of Harmony. Now this is where you will buy Spirits of Harmony and come all the way over to the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. This is where you'll see the Spirits of Harmony vendor, in which you can then go over to that and trade one Spirit of Harmony for materials from Pandaria. So any mop material you can trade for a Spirit of Harmony. This is very profitable because materials sell rather fast, and along with that you can also get quite a decent amount of gold from this. I used to use this method back in the day in order to get Spirits of Harmony, in order to trade 1 Spirit of Harmony for 2 Golden Lotus, then turn them into Potions of Luck, in which they would be selling like hotcakes, and that being the case, I made tons of gold with that. But now it's not so profitable like that anymore, because that was like stupid gold. Now it's more along the lines of Spirits of Harmony for a nice little uptick. So the things that I usually go for is white trillium ore and black trillium ore. I don't really go for any of the other materials unless I know for a fact I'm going to get a return on them. The ones that I generally are more profitable is things like the black trillium ore and the white trillium ore. Sometimes you can actually get away with some of the exotic leather if the Spirit of Harmony is low enough in gold value, but aside from that it's usually the trillium ores, so I would recommend doing it that way. Now, along with that, inside the Worth It add-on, under flippings, there is one specifically catered towards this particular flip, and this takes into account the Spirit of Harmony cost and what you can actually trade that into and see what return you can actually get before you even do it. It does all the mathematics for you. So I thought that's pretty good, so that's why we originally put it into the actual add-on, because it would be, well, primarily helpful. Now, so aside from all of that, that is the Spirit of Harmony flip at number 1. Now, coming in at number 2, we have smelting. And now, I'm generalizing smelting here because smelting's a really easy thing in order to do. This is where you would make up a group of all of the materials that you can actually skin. Most of this stuff can actually be found, like the groups can be found on TSN. And also I will be posting and updating one soon with a smelting part, specifically catered to flipping smelting, and then you can do that daily if you really wanted to, because most materials actually sell relatively fast in the grand scheme of things. Not so much like really old world stuff, but moderately old world stuff, if you get what I'm saying, like things like Cataclysm stuff and also like Enchanted Elementium and all that. So the things that you need to actually take into account when you're actually doing this one is to make sure that you're actually making a profit. Now, actually, Worth It actually also has this inside of it as well, and it will tell you how much you can actually get per bar for crafting each and every bar from just smelting stuff. So it actually does it for you. But the other thing of note is, unfortunately, it doesn't actually create a group and an operation like TSM does. So I would highly recommend making a TSM group that actually just does it for you as you would for crafting. And it can tell you how much gold you can actually make from smelting just random materials that you can just buy off the auction house, smelt them, and then relist them for near on the same amount of sell rate, which is brilliant because that means you're just buying stuff, going AFK while smelting something, and then reposting it and making a profit. That's an easy way in order to make gold, and it requires very little brain power once you've just set up that small operation that just does it for you. Now, the recommendation that I would actually do is do it in either stacks of 200 or 500. I wouldn't go any higher than that unless you are going for like current content materials, but unfortunately we don't actually have things like kind of like that in BFA at this moment in time. So hopefully I would love to see like another bar or something inside Shadowlands which you could actually utilize smelting in all of that. So you could actually just go, right, if I just grab those 2 ores, I can turn them into 1. But aside from all that, you can make a decent amount of gold just by smelting different types of materials, such as pyrite ore into Pyrium bars, and then just selling those. They sell rather fast, and that's just something you may want to bear in mind. Coming in at number 3, we have roseate pigment into all of the old world inks. Now, if you remember, anything going back from mop towards old world vanilla, you can buy those inks from the ink trader. Now, this is by buying out or milling roseate pigments in order to reduce the cost, because roseate pigments on average do tend to be a lot less gold for the actual inks that you're actually going to be using. So if you're going to use roseate pigment in order to transfer into that ink trader within Dalaran, you can then actually trade those into the old world inks and then sell those on the auction house. This requires very little effort as well. I would primarily just do it in stacks of 200. So if you have 200 roseate pigment for 8 gold a piece, we'll say that, Warbinder's ink for 30 gold a piece, then obviously you're going to be trading that for 200 of those, so because they're a 1-to-1 ratio for those ones. Now bearing in mind that the uncommon level inks are actually a 1-to-10, so just remember that one overall, or is that a 10-to-1? Can't remember. But basically, if you trade in 10 roseate pigments, you're going to get 1 of the uncommon inks. So that being the case, that is something you may want to bear in mind with the other ones, but for the standard ones it's a 1-to-1 ratio, so that works really well when you're crafting your glyphs in order to make gold, and also just by trading them in for other world inks and then selling those on the auction house, because some people actually just buy the ink straight off the auction house and don't look about the ink trader to actually reduce the cost of their stuff. So that's something you may want to bear in mind right there. Now, coming in at number 4, we have garrison resources to WoD materials. Now this requires very little effort. The most minimalistic way of doing it is by just making sure that you have a load of followers with the extreme scavenger trait or the scavenging trait. Extreme scavenger is primarily what you want, and what you'll be doing is just by logging in each day with a load of vaults, doing their missions in the WoD garrison, and then collecting your garrison resources. And then by the time it's actually maxed out to 10,000 resources, you just go over to the trading post and you trade it into whatever is profitable for you. That is a good way in order to make gold. It's less time consuming than a lot of the other things, because it literally takes like 2 minutes per character each day, and overall over time that actually will build up to a lovely amount of gold overall, because you're just going to be getting something for nothing, and then you're trading that nothing into materials which you can then sell on the auction house. Now bear in mind, you can use this to actually buy sumptuous fur to make goblin glider kits. If they're at a profit, you could do that and then sell those on the auction house, because goblin glider kits are still very fast selling overall, and it is a good thing to invest in through pretty much all of the expansions. It's been proven to be a very good way in order to make a lot of gold very easily with not a lot of time invested. Now aside from all of that, garrison resources to WoD materials, it's pretty bog standard. Just make sure you have a trading post at level 2 and make sure that your garrison is at level 3. The other things of note that you can do to increase your garrison resources, however, that is like a video in of itself, so I would highly recommend checking that out, or other things like that. I am actually currently working on an ultimate guide to the garrison, and that will be covering that method as well, and then a load of other methods that you can implement and do. Now aside from all of that, garrison resources, the most bog standard way, just do that. Just make sure that you have a load of followers with all the traits, do that and trade it into the trading post. Really easy gold, nothing to overthink about or anything, it's just that simple. Coming in at number 5 and last on our list is the Frozen Orb flip. Now this was primarily one of my most favourite flips, and this is actually one of the first videos, as well as the Spirit of Harmony flip, that I actually did a video on when I very first created this channel. Now the Frozen Orb flip has proven to be insanely good since I actually started my channel. I love it. Basically all you do is go over to Dalaran, which is the Northrend Dalaran, and you buy out frozen orbs. They are for 60 gold if your reputation is up to exalted. Now, all you have to do then is just make sure that you buy those frozen orbs, run over to the frozen orb trader, which is next to the leatherworking trainer in Dalaran, and then just trade them in for any of the Eternals that are worth more. So you could spend 60 gold on a frozen orb and then buy an Eternal Fire for a 1-to-1 ratio, and the Eternal Fire sells for 120 gold. And then just sell that on the auction house. You're definitely going to make a decent amount of gold overall when it comes to that, and it is proven to be very helpful overall, just in the long run. Now, aside from all of this, that one is actually inside the Worth It add-on as well, under flippings as well. Now, that being the case, guys, that is 5 easy ways to make gold right now. Have an awesome rest of the day, and I shall see you in the next video, which will be tomorrow.